Hello, guys. Welcome to The Fine Art of Murder. Which, how do I? Okay. Which, story moment 0 to 12. I don't know anything about it. I just saw it was a first person, small indie murder type of game. Kind of a mystery type of game, story game, which I really enjoy those types of games. And so I thought I'd buy it. It was only, what, $3, I think? And I saw it's only worth or it's only about 20 minutes long. So, but you could play it multiple times. So what am I doing? Okay, 35. So I guess we're going to that. Okay.
The Fine
You
Art of
arrived at.
Murder. You arrive at the solicitor's
Oh,
office,
okay.
full of nervous anticipation. All you know is that you've inherited something from your late great-uncle, Xavier. Deep down,
Charles
you are
Xavier?
hoping for property, but instead you are presented with a first edition of The Picture of Dorian Gray and a postcard print of an oil painting. Not just any
Okay.
painting, but one of Xavier's. He was a famous artist, after all. It's a portrait of an angry man, possibly Xavier himself, but as he had been an identical triplet, it could equally have been either of his two brothers, Yardley and Zachary, dead and missing, respectively.
Okay, let's check the postcard.
Check the postcard.
I
You
see.
turn over the postcard to see a lengthy and seemingly random list of numbers. With a breathless excitement, you immediately jump to the conclusion that it is a code. However, it takes considerably longer to actually decipher it.
It's kind of a pick your own adventure type of thing, huh?
Continue. 1 month later, and after realizing that the book wasn't simply a gift, it's part of the cipher, you decode the numbers. The message L231 L17 is revealed. After many sleepless nights and endless research into what this means, you eventually decide that it is either the location, date, and lot number in an art auction, or it is the direction to a particular painting in the National Art Gallery.
It sounds like it's for the auction. Huh. I mean, L131, L17, that sounds like a lot number. So let's sign up for the auction.
Sign up for the auction. After a long drive to L17, you arrive in Merseyside and the quaint seaside suburbia that is St. Michael's Hamlet. The date is the 31st, and this is your first ever auction. To be honest, you're finding it to be a bit nerve-wracking. All the other
Auctions
people
usually are.
intimidatingly confident and rich. But when you see lot number 2, you know you made the right decision. It's the second part of the Bolt triptych. Continue. At first, you thought it was the same as the one depicted on the postcard, but when you compare the two, you notice certain differences. A snide smile on this one, but a tense, gritted jawline on the other. A red velvet chair in the postcard print, but faded brown upholstery in this auction piece. The bidding is about to start, so you rush to get a seat, but the place is packed out and there are only a few chairs left. One is adjacent to a woman wearing huge sunglasses and texting manically on her phone, and the other is next to an elderly gentleman in a funereal suit who is silently surveying the crowd.
Okay.
Continue. Who do you sit next to? You have encountered a news story moment. Art auction.
Do I sit by the woman? Or do I sit by the elderly man? In the suit. I think I'm going to sit by the man. Yeah, I think I'm going to sit by the man.
The elderly man in a suit. The man regards you with a dismissive glance, but when you ask him if he knows anything about lot number 2, he smiles, eager to show off his knowledge. But of course, it's Yardley Bolt's piece in the infamous triptych, and the subject is presumed to be Zachary. He was an arrogant man, a businessman, and successful in his own right, but not creative. It was said that, deep down, he was jealous of his brother's art, so he stirred things up between them. The man leaned back in his chair, the auction was about to start, then whispered, he definitely knew which buttons to press.
Okay.
Continue. The bids come in, and Yardley Bolt's portrait in oil is eventually sold for a tidy sum of money. The winner is a surprisingly young and scruffy-looking man who seems like he'd be more at home in a tech startup rather than acquiring art, but looks can be deceiving, you suppose. He leaves immediately following his successful bid.
I'm going to follow him out to the car park because obviously he knows about the painting.
You follow him out into the car
Maybe we
park.
can help each other.
To avoid looking like a deranged stalker, you introduce yourself as being related to the Bolt brothers, and it works. He is more than happy to talk to you. So, what's the family's take on Zachary's disappearance? He asks. Just mental health issues, you say with a shrug. He had a breakdown, I think, but the family brushed it under the carpet. To be honest, it wasn't really spoken of. I think the family was ashamed, back in those days. The winner looks disappointed by your lack of juicy insider tips, but then shows you a series of numbers.
Is it the same numbers he's got?
Continue. These are printed onto the frame. Do you have any idea what they mean? You study them and adopt a vague expression. Hopefully, he'll think that you're trying to recall something, but really you are memorizing the sequence. Finally, you tell him that you haven't a clue, then go home. Later, you return again to the picture of Dorian Gray and use the numbers to decode another message. It's an address and a 4-digit PIN. Without any further ado.
I head back to the home.
You head to the Bolt family home. Standing outside the tall, wrought iron gates, you briefly daydream about the solicitor telling you that this house was your inheritance instead of a book. It is a 6-bedroom Georgian house in 2 acres of land, and since
That's not
Xavier
bad.
Bolt is now dead, is presumably unoccupied. You ring the buzzer to make sure, and when there is no reply, enter the 4 digits into the keypad. The gates sweep open, and then you are in the grounds. Without any prying eyes to call the police, you take your time, scouting the property, and eventually find an unlocked window that you ease open. Continue. Once in the main hallway, you pause to light the nearby candles rather than attract attention by switching on the lights, then study the family portrait hanging in pride of place. The 3 identical brothers and their sister, Wendy, a pale woman with a barely disguised expression of contempt. But as good as that painting is, you're sure it's not as valuable as the missing 3rd piece of the triptych, and you're convinced that the codes are clues to its whereabouts. It must be here somewhere, but where?
So if it's our house, then why are we worried about people calling the cops?
Continue. Which room would you like to search first?
Obviously, I'm going to search the library because that's more than likely where it's going to be at.
Library. Naturally, the library, with its oak paneling and floor-to-ceiling shelves, is home to a multitude of serious-looking hardbacks. Not like the stack of pulp fiction you have at home. You do a cursory look around, but quickly realize that you need to focus your efforts. Maybe searching for a particular author will pay dividends. Which author do you want to search for?
What was my dad's? I think father. What was his favorite author? I'm going to say based on his painting and stuff, it's going to be Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe. You quickly find the section and pull The Black Cat down from the shelf. In an instant, there is a bone-rattling bellow, and the sickly sweet stench of fresh vomit fills your nostrils. You retch,
Oh, gosh.
then run frantically for the door. But once you reach the hallway, the noise and smell disappear as quickly as they came. After
I guess that was the
though,
wrong one.
there is no way you're going back inside the library. So, where do you search next? You have encountered a new story moment. The Black Cat.
Let's go to the living room.
Living room. Although there are two large sofas, they are designed for grandeur rather than comfort, and there isn't even a television. You spot some family photographs on the highly polished sideboard, but your prize find comes from rooting around in the drawers. It's a letter from Zachary to Xavier. We all know his talent isn't a patch on yours, but he will insist on trying to compete. The sad truth is that the only way to make any money from his mediocre canvases is if he were to die. The bump in value that pity brings will be enormous if you catch my drift.
Whoa. That must mean the other brothers are alive. So if Zachary's one of the brothers, he was working with Xavier to kill the other brother?
Continue.
What?
You wince in sympathy for the insulted brother, Yardley. Ouch,
Yardley.
that had to hurt, although there's no denying the truth behind it. Still, it was a hard-hearted sentiment from your identical triplet. Continue. But more importantly, did they go beyond this speculation? You knew that Yardley died after an illness, cancer, if you remember correctly, but what if there was more to it? You put the letter back where you found it, then leave the living room, but before you can even think about your next move, you hear someone laughing outside. An arrogant, cruel laugh, and although part of your brain is saying, just get out of here, this is a bad idea.
Your feet run towards the back door, and whoever is finding this so funny.
Your feet run towards the back door, and whoever is finding this so funny. But of course, when you open the door and step into the cool, dusky evening, you are alone. Or so it would seem. Continue. However, in the distance, you spot something that an interloper could hide in. A mausoleum. You sigh in resignation. Naturally, a family of so much wealth with this amount of land would just have to have their own mausoleum, wouldn't they? And as you approach it, you spot that there is a small graveyard too. Oh, this is just great, you mumble sarcastically. There has been no further laughter or any other noise, bar the screech of an owl, but you know you have to check this out.
So you're inside the house, you hear laughter. loud and maniacal. So you run out the back of the house and to get away. But now we're looking for the guy. If the guy is even there. I'm going to check the mausoleum because I am not a wuss.
Try to enter the mausoleum. With a painful creak, the heavy door finally opens and you step into the dim mausoleum.
Well, it's not the
It is bone-chillingly
mausoleum.
cold and filled with tombs. In the fading light, you read 4 names, then gulp as you face up to a nightmarish prospect. Are you really going to open one of these tombs? If you draw the line at disturbing corpses, then you should leave the mausoleum. However, if you are currently thinking, in for a penny, in for a pound, then you could stay to poke around some of the corpses in here.
Well, obviously, we went in there to look to see if the guy's there, so I'm going to leave the mausoleum.
Leave the mausoleum. You take a deep breath of cold but fresh air and can now either visit the graveyard or head around the side of the house.
Visit the graveyard.
Visit the graveyard. It seems that no one has recently been buried here, though. The epitaphs are worn away and covered with lichen. You can make out a few words: born sleeping, beloved, 1897, and the clearest one reads Agnes loyal servant. As morbidly interesting as that is, there are no further clues here, so now you should
Head around the side of the house.
head around the side of the house. Around the side of the house, you find the ornamental gardens, complete with their own pond, and close by is the so-called orangery. Which would you like to explore now?
The garden seems cool. The garden and the pond.
The ornamental garden and pond.
Did
The
we forget all
gardens
about
have
the
marble
laughter?
statues everywhere, and you're not sure, but you suspect they are moving when you're not looking. Feeling an ever-growing sense of doom, you rush on towards the pond. It looks and smells stagnant, and it's too cold for a dip, but maybe you can find something in it. How do you search the pond?
Not by sticking my foot in it. Why don't I have another choice? Why is that my only choice? How is sticking my foot in it going to find anything? Get a big stick.
By sticking your foot into it. You dip a toe into the surface while wondering if there's anything you can actually do here. The slowly undulating algae ripples out from your foot, but then you notice more ripples forming all over the pond. The water starts to rear up and down, waves growing stronger with each crest. Is something about to
The
emerge?
croc.
You don't want to know the answer to that, and you definitely don't want to stay out here any longer. With an impressive sprint, you have encountered a new story moment. 1 foot deep. You
Might as well
hurtle
go back to the house.
into the house. You've already explored the ground floor, so you climb up the stairs. The doors are ajar, and you can see that the master bedroom is nearby, whereas further along the landing, there is a huge artist's studio, and at the end is a drab small room, presumably the servants' quarter. Which room would you like to check out first?
Let's check out the artist studio.
Artist's studio. The space is exactly how you imagined an artist's studio to look, cluttered with various painting paraphernalia. It might make your search more efficient if you knew what you were looking for. What will help you in this search?
It just gives me one answer again.
Nothing. You haven't learnt anything useful so far. The stack of canvases seems like a good place to look for the missing piece of the triptych, but you see only charcoal sketches, rough and smudged, and, to be honest, pretty average. Most are incomplete. It appears that the artist was going mad or ill and couldn't quite commit to finishing any work. The air gets steadily dustier, and you've had enough of these feverish drawings. You leave the studio. But where shall you go next?
We'll go to the master bedroom.
The master bedroom. You step into the bedroom, only to find that you are not alone. An old man is sitting on the bed. An old man who is familiar, and so he should be. He is your recently deceased great-uncle, Xavier. Through the wrinkles and sagging jowls, you can see the younger man portrayed downstairs in the hall and, of course, in the triptych pieces. He regards you with an arrogant sneer. Continue. Do you have any idea of the lengths I went to? All to protect the family name. Reputation is everything. He bellows. You try to swallow but can't, and the ghost continues. Continue. I got rid of Zachary's body and made it look like he'd gone away on business. I made Wendy back up my tale of Yardley's illness, although we all knew that it was Zachary who had left arsenic-soaked charcoal for him, knowing of his strange and repulsive habit of licking his fingers while smudging the black lines. It was slow, but it worked. And Zachary was right. The price of Yardley's mediocre art did rocket after his demise.
Okay.
Continue. And I even got rid of the servant and my unwanted child. Nasty work, but someone had to do it, and I thought I should come clean on my deathbed. That's why I left you the clues, but I've changed my mind. The Bolt good name must live on. Over my dead body, are you going to expose anything? Continue. It's an impressive speech, and if a live human had made such threats, you might have been scared. However, the transparent phantom tries to grab you by the neck, but his hand merely goes through your flesh. What the? It says, confusion now flooding over its face, but there is absolutely nothing that it can do. You don't need a second chance. You run out of the bedroom straight away. You have encountered a new story moment. Walking with a ghost. Continue. There is a terrible bellowing as Xavier tries to follow, then realizes he is trapped in the bedroom for all purgatory. But before you can get all smug about beating the ghost, the thick, choking air fills your lungs. The house is on fire. As though a multitude of angry specters were chasing, you sprint down the stairs towards the front door, but you still have time to notice the knocked-over candle. Blast. I knew I shouldn't have, but regrets will have to wait. Someone has already phoned the emergency services, and both police officers and firefighters are arriving. What are you going to say, though?
Okay. All right. This makes absolutely no sense. We are in a house in the middle of nowhere. Right? Looking for a clue of a painting to find something. We find Xavier's ghost. Come down. When did we light the candle? Where was the candle at? How did it get knocked over? When did we put it down? And then we run out in the middle of, out in the yard, and in the middle of nowhere, somebody had just happened to see the fire before you even noticed it and called the police. It makes
You found no evidence. Oh dear. Poor Zachary's fate will be left undiscovered. Next. You found nothing in the pond. Oh well, poor Yardley's cause of death is going to remain natural causes then. No justice for him. Lastly.
And cyanide would not give you cancer. And the doctor, he might have talked his relative into saying something, but the doctors and the nurses who would have taken care of him for the cancer, it makes.
You didn't find
I don't like it. I don't like this.
Unbeknownst to you, the triptych was in the house and presumably still is. Whether it was damaged in the fire or not, you'll never know. Never mind, you've still got the picture of Dorian Gray. Conclusion. You did your best to unravel the mystery, but something's still missing. If only there was a way to go back and take another look. You have encountered a new story moment. Not what you hoped for.
All right, well, there was the game. I forgot what the name of the game was. I wouldn't even call it really a game, just a story. I might play through it again someday, pick different outcomes, but the way that ended, it made absolutely no sense whatsoever. I remember that when I read the books of Pick Your Own Adventure stories, it didn't matter which one you picked, the outcome made sense, regardless of what decision you picked. This just didn't make any sense. Nothing made sense. It didn't even, like when I went for the painting, they didn't even tell me how much the painting went. Did I even bid on it? Give me a choice to bid on. Nothing like that. A lot of missed opportunities in this. I'm going to have to give this, the way that I finished it this time, I would not recommend it, even at $3. It just was not that good and not that fulfilling whatsoever. I was kind of excited when I first started it and realized what it was, but now, after finishing one of the versions, it's just like, dumb. It was stupid. So anyways, if anybody watched this until the end, I'm sorry I wasted your time. Let me know what you think, and let me know if you want me to do another version of this story to see if anything comes out better. So, but you guys have a good night, day, morning, wherever, and God bless, and I will catch you in the next one.